welcome to the 5th episode of the UN Information Office's UNews Weekly audio-video podcast, coming to you in cooperation with all 9 agencies of United Nations working in Uzbekistan.
Today we are happy to inform you about the most important news of the outgoing week.
I'm Bobo Kamilov and welcome to the show. Coming to you in this program, the Association to Support Children and Families, jointly with UNICEF, held a seminar on the increasing young people's participation in the communities. UNICEF in Uzbekistan speak to the UN Information Office about the significance of children's community engagement.
What we are looking for is really giving adolescents the space to express their views under the umbrella of child rights.
Why is the mother language important? Both national and international experts talk about the role of languages in promoting communication, social integration, education, and development.
So language is really important to me, and people are always asking me about how to say things in English, which is my mother tongue.
The UN is celebrating the 21st anniversary of collaboration with Uzbekistan. On this occasion, we visited Agrobank, located in the capital of the country. We'll have comments and feedback from our audience on the presentation made on this occasion.
And I'm glad that UN Information Office came to our bank and did such a good job on presentation.
And finally, did you know how much energy you could save by changing your approach to efficiency? This is the question we will be asking Kakhramon Usmanov, who is managing a project on energy efficiency in public buildings. He will take us through some of the groundbreaking outcomes achieved by the project in the country.
Buildings in Uzbekistan account for almost half of the country's energy consumption, or 17 million tons of oil equivalent annually.
But first, there is a growing momentum on youth participation within the development community. Governments around the world are increasingly supporting youth ministries, youth policies and youth programs. The Association to Support Children and United Nations Children's Fund in Uzbekistan organized its traditional meeting of child parliamentarians on increasing young people's participation in the communities. We asked Savita Varde-Navqi, who is the Chief of Communication at UNICEF, to tell us more.
This is the last day of a 5-day seminar. It's a kind of a workshop, a fun workshop for adolescents. And what we are looking for is really giving adolescents the space to express their views under the umbrella of child rights. So they are asking basically, how does this work? How do these rights translate into reality? What are the challenges in realizing our rights? So when you say, my right to health, what does it really mean, right to health? And what are the barriers in realizing it? How can I work with others to overcome these barriers? So it is a kind of rights-responsibility relationship, and also working with your peers, working with adults as well, and trying to find solutions. So basically it's an analysis of what the issue is. So we were talking about, there were very nice facilitators, also very young, and they were talking about a problem tree. Problem in the sense, okay, I don't have access to health. So what is the reason? How can I make it happen? Is the health center very far? Do I need transport? Do I need to save money for transport? Who do I go with? What support can I get? So this is, they did a kind of causal analysis, and they just asked the question, why? Pachimuta. So it was, and then they found their own ways of doing things together. And as you see, this is their work. They have worked in groups, so it is learning from each other, learning some very important values which the UN stands for, like respect for diversity. You know, we are all very different. People could be of different religions, ethnies, from different economic backgrounds, social backgrounds, but we are all together. So there is this unity in diversity and respecting diversity. That was one. And also rights are equal for everybody. You know, if you're rich, if you're poor. So this whole idea about universality of rights and really working with everybody, the duty bearers, right holders, to make things happen and to have fun as well, because I think young people like to have fun. So it was good, healthy fun, I think. So the people who participated are from all the regions of Uzbekistan, all 14 regions. And what they're going to do is they are going to go back and hold similar dialogues, adolescent dialogues in their own regions. So this will be a kind of, this will have a multiplier effect, we hope. So this is a kind of training, a fun training to give them tools, to give them, to equip them and support them to hold these kind of things. So we have a methodology. We worked on a methodology together. We worked on tools, questionnaires, methodologies. So they're all participating, so they own it themselves. It's come from them. And this is one workshop where the adults are very much respected, but they take the back seat. They are not dictating terms. So they are letting young people, children, speak for themselves. And the children feel heard. I think you should also talk to the children and get their views. It's a workshop, Drugoy workshop, still Drugoy, это необычный workshop, да? Спасибо вам.
Languages are indeed essential to the identity of groups and individuals and to their peaceful coexistence. They constitute a strategic factor of progress towards sustainable development and a harmonious relationship between the global and the local. We spoke to Khadicha Mukhiddinova of the World Languages University and Blythe Fraser from UNDP to give us their perspectives on the importance of messaging in different languages following the recent International Mother Language Day, celebrated globally.
Language has a huge value in development of a person, society and nation. Spiritual treasures of people are transferring for generations by the means of language. Therefore, the language can be considered as a soul of the nation. The celebration of the International Mother Language Day allows to appreciate and develop the languages of different nations, making a big contribution to the world culture. The representatives of various nationalities should be respectful not only to the native language, but also to the languages of other people.
I work with different people from all over the world, and they speak many different languages. My office mates, for example, speak Slovak and Russian, Albanian, Italian, French. So I get to hear different conversations all the time in the office, which is really interesting. And I know how to say thank you in a lot of languages now. It's also really fun because I work in communications, and so language is really important to me. And people are always asking me about how to say things in English, which is my mother tongue. And then I also notice that people like to share how the rules and expressions are in their own country. So that's really fun, and we learn a lot about each other. And it makes me happy to see when people are proud of their own language and their own culture. And I think we can learn a lot from each other.
Moving on with the show, the UN Information Office has been the principal source of up-to-date information about the UN and its various agencies operating in Uzbekistan for the last 20 years. And on the occasion of the 21st anniversary of Uzbekistan's joining the United Nations, UN Information Office, in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme, visited Agrobank in the capital, Tashkent. And our very own Nikina Khadicha went along to speak to the participants to share their impressions.
Today we had a presentation at Agrobank, which I work here at Investment Department. The presentation was made by UN Information Office, and I got so much information about UN. I had the information before, but it wasn't just a similar informations. And I'm glad that UN Information Office came to our bank and did such a good job on presentation. This presentation was very useful for myself and for our co-workers at this agrobank. We hope for our further collaboration, and thank you so much.
Well, it's now the conversation time. The topic for this week is the energy efficiency. You might have a question on what energy efficiency is, or you might want to ask it to be explained in a few words. It is using less energy to provide the same service. Currently in Uzbekistan, the construction of buildings continues to proceed according to the outdated building norms and practices where energy efficiency considerations are not yet factored into design and construction process.
So it'll be great to talk about a project which is implemented together with UNDP, Global Environmental Facility, and the State Committee for Architecture and Construction. And we welcome our guest.
Yes, so it's a special guest section in the UNews Weekly. Stay with us. So our special guest today is Kakhramon Usmanov, who is the Program Manager for the Energy Efficiency in Public Buildings Project of the United Nations Development Programme in Uzbekistan. Welcome to our studio. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation.
We have a very interesting question to start our conversation with you today. We have been talking about this energy efficiency and getting the same outcomes with less energy, with doing less, investing less. And is it the same idea behind the promotion of energy efficiency in Uzbekistan, or do you have any other motives?
Well, let's start from the government priorities first. As you might know, the buildings in Uzbekistan account for almost half of the country's energy consumption, or 17 million tons of oil equivalent annually. Plus, many buildings in our country are physically worn out, and they demand and they require renovation and rehabilitation. At the same time, increasing population of our country places high demand to social buildings, social services, for instance, education and healthcare services, which require renovation of the existing and construction of new public buildings in our country. So these are the factors, of course, influence to cooperation of UNDP with the government of Uzbekistan. So in order to respond these demographic and social challenges faced by the country, the decision was taken to assist the government of Uzbekistan in order to embarking a series of large-scale programs for renovation and construction of public buildings, which include, of course, schools, clinics, kindergartens, social facilities, and sports facilities.
So what are the overall expectations of the project? How is the project supporting the government priorities?
It is estimated that the government large-scale programs will deliver more than 10.8 million square meters of newly constructed and renovated space by 2015. Plus, besides this, as you might know, the government, in cooperation with Asian Development Bank, is planning to construct another 10,000 rural houses across the country this year. So this is a tremendous opportunity for the project for UNDP in order to build in energy efficiency through modern design and introduction of new technologies, new technical solutions, which will, of course, contribute to national CO2 emission reductions.
So this is great. The project is directly contributing to the MDG environmental sustainability. Tell us how the project is assisting the government of Uzbekistan in achieving its long-term results, and what are the targets, what are the transformations that you envisage?
Of course, first of all, let me say that the project is implemented jointly with the government of Uzbekistan in phase of State Committee for Architecture and Construction, United Nations Development Programme in Uzbekistan, and Global Environment Facility. Besides, the project is closely working with the ministries of economy, public education, healthcare, State Committee for Nature Protection, and other government agencies. In terms of our targets, we have very big and substantial targets for this year. These include, first of all, achieving at least 25% reduction of energy consumed by public buildings through enforcement of energy-efficient building codes developed by the project. That's the first and foremost target. The second most important one is publication and dissemination of guidance manuals to accompany release of these building codes, and dissemination of them among design and construction specialists. Another one is development and introduction of mandatory energy certification system in buildings, including energy passports.
So what is an energy passport? Can you tell our listeners?
Well, energy passport is just a passport of the building, which shows how many energy it consumes per annum.
Oh, interesting.
That's a very interesting, useful document, apparently.
Absolutely.
So my next question is, obviously, the project hasn't started yesterday. It has had some time on its own, working and developing and achieving goals. So I know our time is limited, but I would still be thankful if you could tell us a few fascinating stories or share some of the results that you've achieved for the years of your operation.
From the start of the project in late 2009, project achieved several substantial results. And first of all, the 10 core building codes comprising energy efficiency requirements and standards have been developed by the project and adopted by the government in August 2011. So first time in Uzbekistan, energy efficiency section, as well as 53 energy efficiency terms and technologies have been introduced, defining minimum levels of energy efficiency requirements for all types of buildings in the country. So, plus we have developed 2 energy management systems, energy manager systems plus information system for energy consumption in buildings that were also introduced within the structures of 2 national ministries, Ministry of Public Education and Healthcare. Project has constructed and renovated 8 pilot buildings. Out of them, 2 new construction, plus we have retrofitted 6 schools and rural health clinics. By the way, estimated reduction of energy consumption in our pilot buildings makes up 60% from reconstruction process, from reconstruction of buildings, plus 40% energy consumption reduction from new construction of buildings. So you can imagine energy saving potential throughout the country, taking into account thousands of buildings in our country.
Looks like you have a long way to go still, and thanking you for the time and the information you've provided. Wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That was such an interesting conversation.
It absolutely was, but that is the end of this week's edition of UNews Weekly, but we'll bring you more next week in episode 6 of the UNews Weekly, so don't forget.
And stay tuned.
And to learn more about these and other stories of the week, go to www.un.uz and on Facebook, facebook.com/UniqueTashkent. Hope to see you again and take care.